I mean, it's not the craziest thing in the news, but
Mm-mm.
that is something interesting to talk about. Definitely. I'll be keeping my eye on that. I'll give you guys updates as I find them. I have a Google alert and everything.
Nice. You know what is crazy in the news though?
Hmm.
SCOTUS hearing gun laws right now.
I know they've denied like every other appeal since like 2008 or so.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, so I guess there's a lot going on, and Judge Clarence Thomas was one of the big backers. Like he's outspoken, and for one, I think it's something they need to tackle before they try to pack the court, which they've already started that process. Which,
Mm-hmm.
so before we get too far into the gun laws, packing the court, right? Supreme Court.
Mm-hmm.
What they were saying makes sense. Their logic more or less makes sense. The way they're going about it is a power grab. Now, if they come to everybody and say, we think there should be 13 justices, right? But we'll let Biden put one in. The next president gets to nominate one. The following president gets to nominate one. And at each election, we will let the new incoming president place one judge until it is filled up to 13.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's that option, but that's not what they're doing. They're like, no, we need to rebalance the court and throw 4 liberal justices on right now so we can pass whatever we want. And that's the way they're going about it. So
I didn't even I didn't even know that we were trying to get to 13 court justices out of the 9. Right? It's
Jerry
9.
Nadler, yeah, Jerry Nadler,
Mm-hmm.
he wrote the bill and he's leading the charge. So even the great RGB, she said that would be the death of the Supreme Court.
Yeah, definitely. For one, like the vetting process, and two, like these people, Supreme Court is the highest court of our land. Like that.
No, it's not. The basketball court above the Supreme Court is the highest court in the land.
Fair.
There's a basketball court up there.
Yeah,
There
and it's
is.
literally called
Shut
the
up.
highest court in the land. Yeah.
Oh my god.
That is so funny. I didn't know about that. I'll be interested to read a little bit more. But going to the guns part, so this stemmed in New York, which already has
Mhm.
very restrictive gun laws as it is. And I think we even talked about it before, where you can't carry your gun from your house to another place because technically that's unlawful. It has to be like a gun range or something like that, right? Is that what their law was?
Yeah, so in certain areas, like, so you have to be registered, licensed to own the gun, and you can't carry gun and ammo together. So,
Mm.
like, if you're going to the gun range, you can carry your gun to the gun range, but you have to buy the ammo when you get there. So, I mean, wherever it comes down, we do have the Second Amendment that says it should not be infringed, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's a big argument that has been going around, right? And so the best argument I've liked is that everyone says, well, when they wrote the amendment, they weren't talking about modern firearms. True. But when they wrote the Fourth Amendment and the First Amendment, they weren't talking about modern times either, right? So if we apply the First Amendment to speech and phone,
You can't
then
pick and choose what it
yeah,
applies to.
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
So, I mean, should everybody carry? No. But the second you start putting stipulations on a little bit, people are going to grab for power and you'll end up with what you have in New York right now. New York is very cramped. There's a lot of people. Things can go wrong very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
But again, why should us here in Texas, who have a nice little open room and like our neighbors, have to do the same or have the same issue or have to deal with the same issues that New York is?
You're right.
Mhm.
We shouldn't.
It's so
So,
hard to even get a license in New York. Like
mhm.
it's extremely restrictive. And 2 men, I don't know their names, they are the ones that are taking part in the suit against New York because they've been denied their application. And they're basically like, why can't a citizen that's lawfully abiding carry a weapon? Like, and honestly, like, that's a great fucking question. Why not?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So there's currently 19 states that have what they cut constitutional carry,
Mm-hmm.
right? Texas is actually so currently we are licensed to carry, but we do have a bill going through our state government that would give constitutional carry, and it has passed the House. So it's on the docket for the Senate to hear. If our Texas Senate passes it, then legally, if you are not a felon, you can carry a firearm concealed.
Ooh,
Mhm.
that's new.
Yeah.
Holy fuck. Okay.
So it's called constitutional carry. Well, now the Supreme Court has decided to hear this case, and if they rule that the state of New York is wrong, then that would legally make it constitutional carry. So in all 50 states, law-abiding citizens can carry a firearm for defensive means without license, registration, of that you of that Mac. You would still have to register your firearms,
Mhm.
but you wouldn't have so like currently here in Texas, to give some perspective on the registration we have here, to get a license to carry, you have a shooting test you have to go through. You
Mhm.
have an 8-hour course. You have a
Mhm.
federal background check, which includes your fingerprints and other items. And then they go through all of that before they consider you to have a license, and then you can get it or not. So it's a long process to do it, which most people don't have an issue. Like if you want to carry, it's not a bad process, right? It's
Mhm.
not very hard. It does make sure some people have gun safety. Uh, you know, people can die very quickly when guns get involved. So
Yeah.
hey, but on the other end, if you allow people an inch, they'll take a mile. So
Mhm.
it's just
Well,
like stay strapped to get clapped. I don't know.
Get strapped to get clapped.
and I think
Oh.
that's where personal accountability comes in. Just because you can get it doesn't mean you should. I don't remember if this was a TikTok or on iFunny, but there was a veteran who had PTSD, and he was like, I can carry a gun. I'm not going to because it is not safe for me to have a gun in my home, or in my presence, and that is a personal choice. Which,
And
applaud
everybody
him
else,
for it.
hey, but that's self-awareness, you know what I mean? Like a
Hmm.
lot of people don't have self-awareness.
And a lot of people don't have common sense. So,
Hey, that's
That's
me.
what so when we were talking about this subject at work, right? And because one of the guys, he's like, everybody should be carrying. I don't care who you are, woman, man. If you're over the age of 18, you should be carrying. And I was like, do you see that guy over there? He literally took a staple gun and went like this to see if there's staples in it before he used it. All right. He should not have a firearm.
And it's like, I know this isn't fully, the right thing, but to me, because I've always grown up with a gun in the home. So my version of gun safety is don't touch it. But I should at least know the basics and understand it. And I've had this conversation with Crazy, as if when we have kids and they grow up, I want him to make sure that they're educated in guns, that if
I
they're
think they don't really got a
comfortable,
choice.
if they're comfortable,
yeah.
they know how to use it.
Mhm.
I don't want them to be in the same position I am, where if somebody comes at me with a gun, or I wouldn't be able to defend myself in any way.
But you
Yeah.
were also kind of, I guess, coming back to it, the stories you told that it was kind of forced upon you, right? Like when you say you'd be there with your dad at the lake and he's like, here, shoot it. Like, I don't
Yeah,
know.
that
It's kind of
was
like you got to nurture the curiosity and make sure they're trained
Shoot it,
properly.
Scarlet.
Not,
Shoot it.
yeah, pretty much.
no. So the story that he's referring to. So growing up, my dad every spring, summer, whatever, he would go out for hunting season and come back. I guess that's fall. He would take a hunting trip. But other than that, the guns stayed in the safe. They stayed in their cases under the bed. Like I wasn't really taught anything. And the story by the lakeside was I just went to visit my dad. It was like a year ago. And we're, all hanging out by the lake. We're relaxing, having a good time. We're visiting. And he's like, I'm going to shoot a turtle. And goes and gets, his pistol out of the truck and starts shooting. And he's like, well, here, you should do it. And I'm like, no, I'm okay. I'm at a point where I don't even want to hold a gun. I'm good with paintball guns. Like, I can do those, no problem. But if it's a real gun, I don't want to touch it. I don't want to hold it. Don't get it near me. And he's like, do it, do it, do it. And I'm like, Dad, no. And I kept telling him no. And it just got to the point where I got very emotional. I almost started crying because, like, I was not okay with it. He's like, you gotta be so sensitive about it. You could have just said no. It's like, bitch,
Like,
I
I
told you
did.
no.
It's like, and you wonder why, like, I don't want to, like, do this. Like, you're not making me want to do something like this. It's really
Mhm.
interesting that you say that because I was watching The Fosters, which Puzzled has like, watch it, watch it. Are you watching it? I like it so far.
It's pretty
But
good.
there's a part where one of the younger kids, he gets shot at and he gets hit in the leg. And then one of the moms, she's a police officer, she ended up getting shot during like a situation. So he was having like some like PTSD from it. And the way that she approached him after, like, she took them to the gun range to like show like, this is how I got over my fear and get back into the saddle for me, a police officer carrying a firearm. But he like taking back her control, and he like was totally shook about shooting the gun and like how real it is. And she took the time to say like, shooting a gun is not something you take lightly. Like, you should go onto your job as a police officer with the intention not to use your gun unless you absolutely have to.
Mhm.
But it's a tool to protect yourself, and they're not bad. It's, you have to learn about it and you have to be comfortable with it, which I thought was an amazing lesson, by the way, in this very like left-leaning show, like being really pro-gun. And I thought it was really great to see in TV.
That show breaks all the boundaries, honestly.
I've always been a firm believer. I think women should definitely at least
Oh
have
yeah.
gun training, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because a woman is more likely to need a gun in a dire situation than a man, right?
Yeah.
Be sexist, but like if guys go at it, they can pretty much box it out and work it out. But if a guy comes after a girl, it's her life. You know what I mean? It's like a life or death situation most of the time.
Yeah.
To share something that happened to me, I got robbed at like knife point, basically,
I remember
outside
that.
a grocery store, and I pepper sprayed his ass. Believe you that? If I had not had that form of defense, though, who knows what could have happened? Like, who knows what could have happened? It was in the middle of
Yeah.
the fucking day, in the middle of the day,
Where was this at?
and
What does this guy look like?
HEB.
HEB? What do you look like?
It was the HEB of 281.
I'll be back.
Thousand Oaks. They never found him.
Good.
The poor cop that drove me home, like, I was totally fine, drove me home, get into my apartment. The moment he's like, okay, are you cool? I just started bawling. And he's like, are you going to be okay if I leave you by yourself?
Are you gonna be okay if I leave you by yourself? Poor guy. Poor
Yeah,
you
but
too.
that being said, like, I was so grateful to have that means of defense. Like, honestly, I should carry, because things like that happen so randomly. Aim for the double
Horizon.
sack.
But honestly, I mean, I think them passing a constitutional carry law
Hmm.
would really help a lot of the violence stop, because the number one rule, the only person that's going to stop a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun, right?
Yeah.
I do believe
And
that.
Mhm.
and people who are going to get a gun to do bad things, there's no stopping them.
Mhm.
So the gun laws, the licensing, all this that they put in place are only roadblocks for law-abiding citizens who would use a gun to defend themselves, not to commit crimes. Now, it comes back to the other thing of, I mean, we own more guns as private citizens than most armies do around the world, right?
Mhm.
But we also have, I guess it always comes back to gun safety, and you gotta just always bring it to gun safety. You got your safe gun. You don't hand a gun. You don't hand a loaded gun. You know, like I tell Puzzled, as soon as that magazine comes out of that gun, because I don't keep a chambered round, right?
Mm-hmm.
So as soon as that magazine comes out, it's a hunk of metal. That's all it is. There's no difference in it and any other little piece of metal laying around, right? So what's what's the difference in me having that versus me having a big ass knife on me, right?
It's true.
And I think it'll be good because while we do see a lot of gun violence, here in America, we're not the number one in gun violence. The number ones are going to be the couple of countries in South America where they have full gun bans. And
Mhm.
so it's like as long as we make sure our people are educated, we will continue to not be number one.
I'd
So
love to see
the
something like that, like something like a gun safety, like a community organized, kind of like learn about guns. Maybe if you don't want to handle it, that's fine, but just learn about them because Ethan's right. Like a lot of these people that are making the law, like they have no idea what it's like to be a gun owner and like the
Mhm.
types of things that go into it. And this living in Texas too. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I do have some opinions about guns in general, but I support your right to carry,
Exactly.
100%. And
Mhm.
that's what it comes down to.
I mean, there's been times where I've been in your house with a gun.
And that's okay that I didn't
That's
know
fine, yeah.
that.
I mean, I always got this bad boy at my desk.
But yeah, I think that's the issue we're at. That we've moved past the point of what you'll hear people say common law
Mhm.
gun laws, right? Common sense gun laws. Well, we already moved past that because the people who think they have common sense and that they're trying to write the new laws, they can't even tell you what a gun, like the whole assault rifle. Nobody has assault rifles, right?
Yeah.
For one, if you're a gun owner and the only reason you would ever have a fully automatic rifle is because you have a shit ton of money to spend on ammo, right? Ammo is a precious resource.
Yeah,
So
nowadays, especially.
you're not going to go with a full auto gun and waste 30 rounds. Okay. So an AR comes with a standard 30 round clip, right?
Mhm.
Semi-automatic, I could probably shoot it 5-10 seconds if I just go full out, pull the trigger nonstop, right? Full auto, a second.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna spend $100 in a second. Does that make sense to you?
No.
Yeah.
No.
Why would I have full auto?
Because that's fuck you money.
You know what I mean?
That's exactly what
Unless
that
you-
is.
Unless you have fuck you money in that you could just spend $100 and not blink an eye. Most people
It
don't
just-
have that.
It just
Mhm.
reminds me of that meme of the Pawn Star people where they're arguing back and forth, and the guy's, he's upset over the mass shooting, but he's also upset that where did they get the ammo because he can't find any. Terrible joke,
That's-
but
Yeah.
it helps.
Oh, and everybody just hold off on buying ammo. Remington's firing back up one of their big plants, so they should be caught up in a couple months.
Wait. Remy Tim is a company name?
Remington.
Remington. Okay. I heard Remington.
Remington Firearms.
Yeah, I got you.
So they had a big plant here and they shut it down and moved overseas. Well, Americans are buying so much ammo currently, they just decided to reopen the plant here and keep the one overseas. So they're just pumping out as much ammo as possible. Because ammo manufacturers, so going too deep into it, but ammo manufacturers do cycles, right? So they have one machine that does multiple calibers. They just change out the dies. So they'll run a run of like 10,000 rounds, change out, do 10,000 of this, change out, do 10,000. So that's why you always see, like, when people are like 9mm in stock. Well, that's because they just did a run of 9mm. Now they switched out and they're doing a run of 40. So it's
Kinda
just
like-
like bam, 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 bam.
Kind of like how beers will smaller breweries
Seasonal.
like the
Yeah.
Spotsol brewery, the one that makes Shiner, they have to constantly rotate out what they're making because they have such a small brewery, they can only focus on one batch at a time.
Yeah, so they
I
do
got you.
Shiner Bock, year round, but then they do their seasonals. Yeah,
Yeah.
same.
Okay.
They'll produce enough beer to sell for the rest of the year, and then they'll start producing their seasonals.
Ooh,
Yeah.
that was a really great analogy. Thank you so much for framing it that way because now I completely understand.
Yeah, right. And here in the United States, our biggest thing is that the places with the strictest gun laws usually have the most gun violence.
Mm-hmm.
And so then the people there usually are their leadership is democratic leadership. And so they think, well, if we make more laws, we can stop the gun violence. But we've already kind of passed, the bell curve. So, you got good gun laws here. Well, we're already past here. So it's just like adding more laws. You're not restricting criminals at all. You're only restricting people who would stop criminals.
It's
Mm.
kind of like putting it to roads. Like if you want to solve, and I've told Norma this before, like the only way to truly solve traffic isn't to make the road wider, but to make more avenues for you to get to the places that you want to go.
Instead of everybody on the highway, have more side streets.
Mm-hmm.
that's
Have more
why-
connecting
States
streets.
don't have, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
California's shit show. Like,
Fucking California.
I guess.
Yeah, that's it. With anything in life, the more you consolidate, the more difficult it is to handle.
Which is why we have
Big cities
four
are dying.
guests.
Get out of the cities. Run for your life.
I was gonna say this is why we have 4 people on the podcast and not 2.
But no, honestly, like we're able to spread things out and it does help out. I mean, imagine people trying to do imagine you trying to stream 100% by yourself, take care of a Discord by yourself, take care of YouTube by yourself. Social media.
Mhm.
It'd just be constant 100 at all times. And that's
Interview streamers. DM a game.